Next week, a high-stakes showdown on Capitol Hill over the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. On Wednesday, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick will appear before the House Oversight Committee to answer questions about his relationship with the convicted sex offender. Later this month, former Attorney General Pam Bondi will testify after Democrats threatened to hold her in contempt after she defied a subpoena and skipped her previously scheduled deposition. Joining me now is Virginia Congressman James Walkinshaw. He serves on the House Oversight and Homeland Security Committees. Congressman, welcome. We have former Attorney General Pam Bondi, who will be coming before the Oversight Committee on May 29th after Democrats filed that civil contempt resolution for her not complying with the subpoena to appear. What questions, sir, do you have about her handling of the Epstein files? And how concerned are you, Bondi sitting for a transcribed interview, not testifying under oath, will allow her to avoid answering questions truthfully?
Well, the questions I have for her are pretty simple, right? When she was Attorney General, the buck stopped with her. And we know that the Department of Justice failed to follow the law with respect to releasing the files. They didn't release the files by the deadline. They still haven't released all the files. They illegally redacted thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of files. They released documents that should have been redacted, and they revealed information related to survivors that shouldn't have been revealed. I want to know who made those decisions. Were there conversations between her and Todd Blanche to redact files? Any conversations with the White House? I'm disappointed that it's a transcribed interview rather than a deposition. While she won't be under oath, it still is a crime to lie to Congress. So my expectation is she'll tell the truth when she's asked questions. Otherwise, she'll be in violation of the law, whether she's under oath or not. I'm also hopeful that Chairman Comer will videotape this transcribed interview so the public will be able to see it and judge for themselves, just as they could with the Clintons' deposition.
So Ghislaine Maxwell's former boyfriend, I believe his name is Ted Waite, if that's how you pronounce it, he testified before the committee Thursday. She dated him in the early 2000s after her relationship with Epstein ended, and Democrats said they learned nothing new from his testimony. Do you find it credible that he knew nothing about Epstein's crimes?
With almost everyone who was in the Epstein or Maxwell orbits, especially those who were on the inside of those orbits, I find it hard to believe that they never had an inkling of knowledge about the crimes that were being committed by Maxwell and Epstein. Ted Waite's in that category for me. As you noted, they were in a romantic relationship for a long period of time. Maxwell was committing crimes with Epstein at that same time. He claimed to have heard no evil and saw no evil. The most common phrase, I think, in his interview with us is, "I don't recall." There were a lot of conversations and things that he couldn't recall. So I find it hard to believe that you could have no knowledge that your romantic partner was involved in these kinds of very serious crimes. But that's what he said.
One of Epstein's guards, as you know, is expected to testify May 18th before the in front of a committee. I believe the last person reportedly to see Epstein alive. What questions do you have for her? What do you expect to hear?
So Tova Noel, one of the prison guards, before Epstein's death, in the weeks leading up to his death, made a series of very large cash deposits into her bank account, much larger than you would expect maybe a prison guard to be able to make. There's reporting from the Miami Herald and multiple sources that Epstein was paying at some point in time protection payments to personnel at the prison there. Obviously, those large cash deposits are a huge, huge question mark. I want to understand what, if anything, was going on there. And there are new questions now around Epstein's death and the existence of a suicide note from his previous suicide attempt that has been sealed by a court in New York. So there's just a lot of questions still surrounding his death and the circumstances around it. I'm hopeful that she'll be able to shed some light on that.
Okay. Congressman James Walkinshaw, good to have you on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.